Good morning, everybody. We're very excited for all of everything that we're going to learn and hear from all of our co-founders and everyone involved in various industries today. But we're going to kick things off. We're going to talk about these three wonderful co-founders, the success that they have had in blockchain, and what we can do to get more women involved in this space. So from the end, we'll start. We have Valeria Benitez Florez, a co-founder of Pocket Network. Then we have Lily Wu, a co-founder of Pixies, and Medha Parlikar, CTO and co-founder of CasperLabs. So Medha, let me start with you, because just give us an overview of what CasperLabs does and how you got involved in the blockchain space.
Well, thank you very much for that wonderful introduction. Very excited to be here with all these amazing women. CasperLabs is a professional software services company, and we built the public Casper protocol that is now stewarded by the public validators in the network. And we are working with enterprises to help them adopt this wonderful new technology so they can make it available to the masses through their existing products and services that they offer. So that's what we're all about.
And Valeria, let me go to you, because from a global perspective, you're based in Colombia. Talk to us about your involvement, what Pocket Network does, and why it's so important to get women involved in this space.
Well, yes, of course. I come from Colombia. How did I get involved in this space? It's from my partners, my co-founders. They brought this idea to me like around 6 years ago, and it started to just build something different, where I was very excited to get into, and also very challenged, because I don't come from a technical background, but I understood that there is a way to approach different problems from multiple perspectives. And what I do in Pocket, I'm a designer. I design at Pocket, and I take care how users interact with the products that we are building. And what do we do in Pocket? We are decentralizing the infrastructure of applications, meaning the core, the lower level where every data is processed. It needs to be decentralized, or it defeats the purpose of the blockchain, that is decentralization.
And Lily, Pixies, it's very interesting because you're using NFTs as a fundraising mechanism. Talk to us just about how this works.
Yeah, so Pixies is the first social DAO to invest specifically in the women-led NFT ecosystem and Web3 ecosystem. So this idea came about because I was a previous entrepreneur. I started 2 7-figure businesses, bootstrapped it, and exited. And I always had issues with fundraising. And now my day job is working at Stripe as a startup partner lead, building up the startup ecosystem. And I see firsthand how little women and how little money goes to women from VCs. And the statistic from 2021 is that it's less than 2%, which is pretty atrocious statistic. But with NFTs, the beauty is that you're not relying on a specific demographic who hold the power in providing that money as a resource. But with NFTs, you can actually crowdsource this money, and as a consumer, you're able to put money where you value. And so for Pixies, we were able to fundraise over $1.5 million within 4 days, and we refunnel that money into empowering more women entrepreneurs in this space and providing and buying up more of their projects.
Medha, your business, what you do, one of the things is investing with blockchain when it comes to corporations. I know you have partnerships with AWS and IBM. Over the last several years, we heard more and more business leaders, CEOs comment about blockchain. There certainly has been an appetite to enter this industry or to be a part of blockchain. What do you think is driving this?
So I think they see blockchain as a very disruptive technology, and I believe they are almost like FOMO, fear of missing out, right? They understand that they are at risk of being disrupted away by decentralized technologies, by community-driven projects, by efficiencies that can be gained via the blockchain, infrastructure. And so they are now very much in the learning phase. I liken it a lot to the adoption of cloud and even internet technology, right? They were a little slow to adopt, but now they realize that it's here to stay, and there are real benefits that they can reap from that. And additionally, I think, Casper is a public decentralized protocol, so we can also offer a layer that's very affordable and scalable and secure for these kinds of fundraising activities that Lily mentioned. And that's one of the things that drives me every day is I believe that there should be much more broader access to capital for young and female and disadvantaged entrepreneurs so they can have access to that capital through crowdfunding, through legitimate ICOs, and hopefully there'll be a framework to do that soon.
And Lily, talk about building your business, because I'm certain that you have probably faced some challenges, some headwinds along the way. You talked about the fact that female-founded businesses aren't allocated nearly enough money when it comes to VC funding. But from what you've done with WOW Pixies, I guess, what are some of the challenges that you faced while building your company on a decentralized network?
Yeah, I think it is definitely very different. There's some similarities, some differences from businesses that I've built before. Similarities would be kind of in a decentralized network, you're really incentivizing the right behaviors. Your consumers almost have this investor mindset and an ownership mindset. So it creates this great flywheel of promoting activity, getting them to contribute, and helping market your project. But some of the difficulties is how do you kind of make sure that within a decentralized organization that you are still empowering and putting power in the right places. So for example, each NFT that we have is a kind of governance token, and one WOW Pixie equals one vote. However, the issue that we came across was that if 80% of the space are men and most of them have the money to buy up a lot of NFTs, then naturally, if you have 200 NFTs, you have more power and you have more voting rights. So how do you make sure that the people who have lower NFTs, women, for example, we have a lot of single moms, we have a lot of women who are entering the space for the first time, they might only buy one or two. So how can we make sure that these, their power and their voices are also heard? So there's a lot of need for more tools in this space, but one kind of compromise that we made was whenever we did a new voting, what we would do is all of the proposals, we would do one vote for one person on Discord. And then as it gets narrowed down, we would then end the vote with one vote for one Pixie. So it's almost like a House of Representatives and the Senate, where it can kind of steer and have the voting rights steered towards the bottom end of the spectrum.
And Valeria, when you're getting the word out about Pocket Network, what has the reception been like? And I guess, how have you seen this space evolve, even over the last, say, 6 or 12 months?
I think it is getting more open and more eyes, of course, arriving to the space. I think it's empowering more the community, like seeing the change and seeing how we can make bigger impacts from diverse places and from faster and in a more dynamic environment. Because making decisions and huge decisions are being made in conversations in little places, and ideas are all over the place. So I think that's the progress. Building things, innovation is not coming from huge places or big names, but from the least expected place. There is some room to grow, some room to actually put an innovation and effort to be heard in some of the ideas that women, men, and anyone can just bring to the space.
Medha, I want to go back to something you mentioned before, and that's using blockchain, using Web3 here to help underserved communities. Talk a little bit more about that, what CasperLabs is doing specifically in that space, and where you think there's potential going forward.
So one of the great things that I observe about the entire public blockchain / cryptocurrency space is that it has the potential to become the great equalizer in that it's now not really up to any central authority to decide whether you can be admitted into a class that, has access to venture capital, that is able to create a startup. If you have the ability to rally people around your idea, you can do that through social networks, you can do that through word of mouth, you can do that through any means that you have available to you, and that community can rally around you and form, self-organize and self-govern. And I think that's a really beautiful thing to empower, these communities, and really I see us kind of going back to our roots of barter. Like, I see a whole new class of transactions, what I like to refer to as consumer-to-consumer transactions. As an example, we're starting to see, we now can have a vision of decentralized Airbnb or decentralized Uber using the blockchain. But I would like to even take it one step further, where if I have an orange tree that has a bumper crop this year, I could actually transact with somebody using the blockchain as a median, and I don't really have to ask permission from anybody to do that. And I think that's a wonderful thing, from home-cooked meals to decentralized Uber to decentralized Airbnb. It feels very much like you can go back to the original barter system, where communities and your local community, you can interact with them through this trustless network. I think that's incredible, and I think out of that you will start seeing a lot more grassroots entrepreneurship, right? And you see it right now in farmers markets, where people will show up in farmers markets and they'll have an idea, a product or a service that they've built, and they come to the farmers markets, and that's where you can interact with homemade and cottage goods. It's this cottage industry, right? And I think blockchain has a capacity to really spread it wide in a very decentralized fashion. So that's what I get really excited about, because I think that's where the future of commerce is.
When we talk about blockchain, I think maybe people who aren't as familiar with the difference between blockchain and cryptocurrencies, people kind of lump them all into one industry or into kind of this lump sum. But it's very important to distinguish each, because they serve very, very different functions. Lily, I'm curious to get your take. How do you think some of the recent volatility, or really just broadly speaking, the volatility that we see in crypto when it comes to cryptocurrencies, whether or not that's influencing the adoption of blockchain?
Yeah, I think in terms of the volatility, I think it's more important to really understand what is the potential of NFTs, of cryptocurrency in the long term. And so for those who don't know what NFTs are, it is a token that can recognize something that is unique on the blockchain, and I think that can be applicable across what was mentioned before, across so many different industries and with so many different use cases. And I think that the current kind of trend of trading is kind of shielding what is the potential of what could be, and what the use case of what it can transform into. And so right now, what looks like a zero-sum game, actually, as we provide more accessibility to entrepreneurs and people who actually want to build in the space, I think this has a potential to become, the next, internet, the next thing that is used in mass adoption.
Valeria, has it had a significant impact on your business? Because going through some of the statistics of Pocket Network, it has more than 47,000 full nodes across 46 blockchains, including Ethereum, including Solana, including Avalanche, just to name a few of them. Have you seen any direct impact from the recent volatility?
Absolutely. We gotta be honest, the market is down, markets are down. This is not only about crypto, but the resilience that networks and the crypto space has is something very different to normal markets. Mm-hmm. Because coming back to what we've been talking to, these are communities with the least bureaucracy that we can find. And decisions and dynamics are very easy to switch over moments, conversations, just heading to agree a few projects to do something, not in terms of the market, but in terms of how to take those waves into action or actually open different opportunities is what makes different the blockchain space. Of course, volatility is part of it, speculation is part of it, but it also comes with a lot of great things and great opportunities to build more innovation, as DeFi came from speculation, and it also opens a huge and a different work scenario for diverse people from different backgrounds.
Talking about people from different backgrounds, I know something that you're passionate about is that the fact that there's a space for everyone when it comes to blockchain. And I know, Valeria, your background is coding, but why is it so critical that we attract people of all backgrounds to this space?
I think because if we want to provide opportunities for everyone to see how powerful this space is, we need multiple perspectives, that we cannot have a technology that only talks to tech people. You need a technology that can be understood from medical scenarios to engineers, to designers, to artists, because there's a space for everyone. There is something actually that each one of our perspectives could bring to the table to make it bigger and greater. So once it clicks, you understand where are you able to put your hands on, where are you able to actually approach such a magical, just like, of course, I love it, such a different and such a magical space into doing something better. From each one of our perspectives, we are approaching a technology and providing different solutions.
Medha, it's interesting to get your perspective on this, because I was listening to a few of your previous interviews and a couple of articles that you've been interviewed in, and you were at the start, I know you were heavily involved with right around the first computers. You were very involved in that space. Then when the internet came about, now we're seeing this evolution of blockchain. What do you think this space is going to look like in 10, 20 years from now?
I get asked this question a lot. I see the adoption curve for blockchain very similar to both the internet and the cloud. Definitely in the internet space, initially there was a lot of speculation. There was definitely the bubble. There was a lot of experimentation. There was a lot of fraud. There was a lot of fear about using the technology in the early days of the internet. We're talking 1995, 1996. Dial-up, pre-high speed bandwidth, and I see the crypto space. I'm talking crypto versus blockchain. I see the crypto space going through that as well, but it's been magnified and accelerated because crypto brings about its own source of fundraising, which is very, very interesting. In the internet boom, we saw venture capitalists kind of getting really excited about the technology, and that huge boom and bust that happened between 1998 and 2001 was primarily from the source of funding was VC. And now what we're seeing in crypto, because there's the ability to create communities that get excited and interested in your token, your own fundraising, there's a way for there to be much more rapid innovation and people making 1 million small bets on an idea. And so that's what's really interesting about this. So in 10 to 20 years, I do see the use of blockchain protocol as ubiquitous as what we call the HTTP protocol, which is the foundation of the internet. But I see it happening through organizations such as YouTube, Netflix, which are decentralized content providers, right? So YouTube provides an interface for everybody to create content. And through that process, we have much more content, much more rich content that we had before something like YouTube enabled it. So I see a whole new class of products, a whole new class of access to goods and services. I see it being very decentralized, but I do see that there is a place for businesses providing a seamless user experience, a seamless interface, and support to make the protocols, the blockchain protocols, easy to use. I feel like the interfaces are still very raw and difficult for the end user to use.
And Lily, we only have about a minute left, but I saw you nodding in agreement to a lot of things that Medha was just saying. From your perspective, where do you see it in 5 years?
Yeah, so I totally agree that this opens up a new space of fundraising. It's really about innovation going forward, and there's so much potential in the next 5 years to build. We always see in the beginning there's what you mentioned, like fraud, to build security, to build identity kind of layers around it, and really enable kind of creators and more creative people to also flourish. And as well as people in different emerging markets, it really gives that accessibility to people all around the world and not just centralized in one specific location.
Medha Parlikar, Lily Wu, and Valeria Benitez Florez, thank you to all three of you for taking the time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you.